Hi, I'm Jessica,
And I'm Tracy.
and this is She's on Top, the place where we connect, elevate, and celebrate women.
If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our channel and don't forget to hit on that bell button. That way you'll get notice of all of our videos.
We also have an amazing community of women entrepreneurs and change makers. And what we do is we all work together to collaborate and cross promote each other. And if you go to our website, you can find out all the details of our membership. And also, you can sign up there also for our bi-weekly newsletter that tells you even more about our community.
Today we are thrilled and excited to be speaking with the amazing Lina. Lina is just incredible. She is so many things. She is a music producer, a songwriter, an educator, a musician. She has her own production company and she has a very successful YouTube channel.
That's right. And she's also really passionate about breaking gender stereotypes and promoting women from all backgrounds in the music industry. So we are super excited and proud to introduce you to Lina. Hi, Lina. It's so nice to have you on the show today.
Hi, so nice to be here.
It's so, I think about the way that we found you, and scrolling through Instagram one day, and I saw this amazing video of this lovely young woman dressed in what I now know is your wedding dress, but this gorgeous sparkly gown hitting music cans. Can you tell us about that video?
I love that that's the video how you found me. So yeah, that is me playing a soup can in a wedding dress. And yeah, I think actually started, so I did that video because I got 10,000 subscribers on YouTube and I thought I need to celebrate it somehow. And then I was talking to my friends and I was like, yeah, I want to do something really like celebratory. And then one of my friends said, well, if you dress up nice. And then I was like, oh yeah, well, my fanciest dress is my wedding dress. So I might as well use that because whenever can you use that another time? So and then I thought, well, it's kind of cool to have like a female looking very feminine doing audio stuff. So then I thought, well, might as well get my boobs out and just
Love that.
embrace it.
Absolutely.
Well, it was super smart because you definitely got our attention.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there we go. Yeah. And yeah, so I made a song just sampling sounds from a soup can and then just made a song out of that.
It was amazing. I watched it too. It was fantastic. Can you tell our audience a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, so I produce under the name LNA, and I have a YouTube channel called LNA Does Audio Stuff, and that describes what I do. I do audio stuff, so I'm a music producer, a mixing engineer, and a musician. That is like who I like. I'm an artist in the first place, and then I do music production for artists as well as for myself, and I mix also for artists as well. But on the top of that, I'm an educator as well. So, which kind of started from the YouTube channel. So I started doing YouTube tutorials, and then I became a lecturer in a university for music production for for a year. And then I decided I want to be an entrepreneur. And now I've just grown my YouTube channel, and I started a company with my friend Emily, teaching music production for women and non-binary people. And then we're expanding that to all marginalized groups as well.
All right. Well, we're going to address all those things
That's
separately.
a lot.
Those are so amazing. But Anne, you left out I'm pretty sure when I heard that video that you sing.
I
Right?
sing, yeah. So I'm classically trained musician originally, so that's where kind of like I started by violin, singing lessons, music-oriented school, and music theory, orchestras, choirs. That's my childhood basically, and yeah. So then I started hating music when I was 19. I would like I'm gonna be an actress, and then now I'm a musician. So.
Why did you hate music? What happened? There's got to be a story there. I mean, to grow up in it and then walk away from it.
Yeah, I think it's that kind of, so my mom is a musician, my brother is a musician, my mom is an artist as well. And I feel like when you grow up doing something so closely, I think, and I was like literally in a music oriented school since I was 19. I did violin in a conservatoire since I was 5. So it's been such a big part of who I am. And I grew up in it. And I feel like I never fitted in into the music world because I was never really good at music in the standard of what I was being in the institutions. I was never in that standard of good. And that kind of puts a toll on the child in a way, because you believe that you're never gonna be good enough, because especially in Finland is very classically trained culture. So we have Sibelius, where like all our like culture is just based on classical music, and it's very tough. Probably comes from the Russian side of that kind of like a classical music education,
Mhm.
and what's expected. So when I found electronic music later in my life, I started to like, I can do violin with all my own terms. I can do singing on my own terms. It doesn't need to be technically the best. It can just be me. And I think that's why kind of it was nice to become electronic musician, because then I was like, oh, but I don't need to do all these things that people asked me to do before. But it's kind of nice that I know violin now. It's nice that I know how to sing and do all these things that I learned as a child.
That makes sense. I mean, a lot of us, when we're younger, if we're told we're not perfect at it, we don't want to then go ahead and do it. So was there one moment that it switched for you? Like, was it just listening to electronic music, or there was like one thing that happened that was like, oh, I can do this. I can still, create music, but just not in the way that I was taught as a child.
Yeah, I think it was. So I've been songwriting all my life, and I didn't never stop songwriting. I still kept on songwriting. But I think when I kind of figured out that I could do this professionally was when I did find electronic music instead of being songwriter. I feel like I found studios, and I found that there was a certain amount of strength about that I loved. I loved the fact that um people expected me to be singer-songwriter, and then I'm like, no, 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 no. Look at my synths, or look at me in the studio. And I think there's a certain like the kind of feminism, like power, like taking that like the very masculine environment and being total control of that. Um, it kind of really sparked something new in me, that I was very feeling like empowered by it all. And I feel like maybe that finding studios, I took in control not only like my femininity, but I also took control my musicality and how I express music. So the past and the future kind of collided together, and I think it was very empowering. Taking back that power that I felt maybe always maybe a little bit powerless, being grown up in that environment where I was never like that good.
I love that. And it's almost too, like you were saying, when we were talking to you before too, and in this way you can bring in your tech, right? Because you like tech, right? And a lot of girls
Yeah.
aren't encouraged in tech. You said you were a tech nerd.
Yeah, like I only figured that out later though. Like I
Yeah.
never figured out that I was a nerd before I got into music tech. And I always thought like it's because it's as a girl, it's not never really been questioned, are you a nerd or not? And it's never like even question to answer. Like it's never been asked. And you never ask it by yourself. So then when I figured out that I actually love coding and making synths with programs. I learned soldering and making microphones, and all this stuff is so cool. Like it's so exciting. And I never realized that before I started like giving myself the permission of actually doing it. I never like realized that I could do it until I figure out that I'm actually like I was saying, that my brothers and my dad are proper nerds. So it's even weird that I never figured it out previously, but now it's nice that I figured it out.
Yeah, now you're owning the name. You're the nerd. You're owning it, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
love it. I love
Yeah.
being a nerd. It's
And
great.
have you met other women nerds? I know that you produce music. Are there other
Mm.
women that you've met who also produce music, have the same experience as you? I know you said there's like, we talked to you briefly before that there are not as many women producers as men producers.
Yeah. So it's uh in globally it's known that it's counted it's 2% women are music producers are women,
Wow.
which is a small amount.
Yeah.
But what I've seen after entering the industry is that I live in Northern England, and I know thousands of people locally who are women or non-male identifying people who are music production or audio or sound design or any type of audio industry. And there's actually thousands of people. And why are they not part of the 2%? I don't know. I think because they maybe don't, I think it's confidence and not thinking that you're good enough to become a professional. You kind of always think that it's your hobby and it's your interest, but you always think that someone knows better than you. And I think that's something that I've realized is that we're much more in number who are interested in audio, but and who are really good at it, but many don't take it further to become, or they become teachers. Like I was straight
Yeah.
away asked to be a teacher because they're like, oh my God, a woman, we must get her to teach so that other people, so she can inspire others. And I'm like, wait a minute, I don't need to settle just to be a teacher. There's nothing wrong about being a teacher, but I can dream big. I want to be the next Mark Ronson or the next Pharrell Williams. I can do that as well as any boy can. I don't need to become a teacher as soon as I become a producer. So yeah.
It's so interesting, you know, that really resonates with me because my mom grew up in London, England,
Mhm.
and she and her brother were at school and they were both really good in art and design and had the same grades, same thing. And he was told to study to go be an architect, and she was told to be a hairdresser.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you know, nothing wrong with hairdressers. If that's your passion, that's great. But
Exactly.
it's just it's basically what you're saying. Like, because so you know, you wonder why women struggle to call themselves producers, but maybe it's the world struggling to call women producers.
Exactly. Because it's like you don't have the confidence to say that you're a producer, because it's like the first thing you need to decide is that, are you going to be a producer? You need to call yourself that. So if you just say that, oh, it's just a hobby, it's just something. No, you are a producer. If you make songs electronically and you record them, that's you being a producer. You don't need to be in a Abbey Road Studios to call yourself a producer. If you have a bedroom studio, you are a producer. And I think it starts from that thought, but because the world is kind of expecting that we become teachers or we become educators or we need to be the ones who constantly just help others instead of help ourselves. And I think that's something that I'm trying to get out of, is that's literally what I'm based on my career right now, is just helping others. But but I feel like I feel like I want to be patient. I feel like my time as a producer is coming, and where I can just concentrate more to that. And right now, this is just my path of talking very loudly about that.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, there is a bias in some professions. I mean, in a lot of professions, it has changed, but I guess the music industry in particular needs voices like you, and you have your own production company, right? Now, do you produce just women's music, your own music? How does your production company work?
Okay, so I have basically two things. So I have my own business, which is LNA Music, or LNA Does Audio Stuff kind of areas, or LNA stuff. And then I have Equalized Music Production, which is educational company. So we we do courses for women and non-binary people and teach them music production. So in that, Equalized Music Production is where you can come and learn, you whatever age, whatever background, whatever. If you just want to learn about sound in digital format, then you are welcome to come to those courses. And they are uh, why they are for women and non-binary people is because there's a lot of safe spaces in this world for for cis male. There's a lot of safe spaces for them to learn and ask stupid questions and be themselves, but there's not many of those spaces for women and binary people to completely feel confident and safe. And we want to give those spaces. Some people don't want to come there because they want rather learn with men. Absolutely fine. But we wanted to give those spaces to those people who do not want to go and be the one person in the classroom who's a female. So as I was, or as my colleagues were. So yeah, so we also teach mixing, and we have just hired a couple new teachers, and we're expanding. We're going to do courses for LGBTQ identifying people, as well as hopefully for Black women in one point, and different marginalized groups that we would like to kind of give the chance to kind of just communicate and be part of. So that's Equalize Music Production.
I love that
Hmm.
because I think, you know, any artist is going to bring their experience of life to their craft, their music, or to
Mhm.
whatever we do. So we need all those voices because their experience of life is different than what we're hearing now. right? So we're
Absolutely.
missing it.
Yeah.
What's been the reaction? Like, tell us about some of the students that you've had, or the people that you're teaching. Like, what have you learned from them? We'd love to know about them.
Oh my God, so much. So we have people who went to our course maybe 1.5 years ago. There's one woman called Kat, and she is now internationally recognized a sound designer
Oh,
and a
wow.
sound artist. And she's done so well. And she like started learning Ableton Live with us and stuff. And so that kind of like just shows she was just doing everything like in her home studio, didn't call herself a producer or sound designer. And now she's like doing world, like she was in Japan for residency last year and all that. Otherwise, like I feel like what we've noticed is that a lot of people come to our courses who always want to do, there's maybe like we have a lot of students who are maybe 40, 50, who's
Mm.
always wanting to, being really interested. And now they're learning, they want to maybe, there was a one woman who wanted to DJ her own songs in her 40th birthday. So she came to our
I love that.
I me too. It's so great. And so she came to our call. She made her own production. So she wanted to make like house music or something. And then she managed to DJ in her own birthday, 40th birthday. And then we have students who are, maybe 19, who's seen Billie Eilish, who's seen all these like trendy, awesome new strong women in pop artists, and they want to become one of them, and they want to like create their own beats and stuff. And you know, those people actually, they believe they could become professional producers, and that's why we're there for as well, just to kind of show them that it's absolutely possible to make a career out of it. And one common thing that combines everyone is every single lesson we start is everybody says sorry, 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 computers don't like me, oh sorry, I don't have a techie brain, oh sorry, sorry, sorry. And we don't have, we have a rule that you can't say sorry. And
Ah.
also we teach creative confidence and being kind to yourself. So we teach the psychological side of the journey of learning your relationship with technology. So we also teach that as much as we teach the tech. We also teach how you can love yourself and how you can enjoy tech as yourself, instead of panicking or judging yourself or thinking that you're the one who can't think, get it work. Where we kind of teach that no, everybody feels the same.
You know, I actually love that point that you're saying. And it's interesting because some people would say, well, why is this like music production just for women or people who identify as women? What about men? Aren't you excluding men? I've had, for example, my boyfriend was saying to me like, well, that's, you know, now you're setting your side apart. Why don't you want to be inclusive? And what I'm hearing from you is that as women, we have different issues. Like a lot of women actually feel like we're not good at tech. So if you're in a safe space, you're able to say sorry and have somebody say, don't say sorry. Whereas if you were in so I just absolutely love what you're doing. I think it's brilliant.
And absolutely, I agree. Like, I understand the point of view if people say that, oh, I don't want to come to a female, women and non-binary people group because I feel like you're excluding. But then same time, that's what I said in the beginning, is that um, there's so many safe spaces for men in the world that
Yes.
you can feel vulnerable and you can feel uncomfortable and vulnerable. But unfortunately, I personally, why do we not have them more women in audio? Because what I see as a lecturer, I had 85 male students and I have 7 girls. When we do a course for only for women and non-binary people, we are fully booked. What's the difference? Why do the women want to come to us? Why do they not want to go into the classes full of men? And I think that just gives an answer quite well. Why do we need to do this? And why the separation is still beneficial and why is it necessary? It's not what we want to do because we would like to all be equal, but unfortunately, we are not there yet. Really.
Absolutely. I just want to say it's not anti-men. We've had sometimes issues with
No.
our business because we're called She's on Top, and we
Mm.
don't exclude men. We have a lot of men who support us,
No.
but we tell stories of
Same.
women because we need to tell stories of women. So I so love what you're doing. Can totally relate to what you're.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we think it's so important to show men that we are here, we're active. So we have a lot of events and stuff, including men and stuff. But sometimes that separation is necessary for those classes. But otherwise, we're totally including everybody.
It's so interesting because I grew up not fully in tech, but I was before I was doing this, I was a television producer, director, and it was women out there doing the directing, but the crews were men, the
Yeah.
cameramen, the audio in
Yeah.
it as well. And, towards the end, there were like one or two, but it was interesting because they also got paid more. They had, unions that managed their hours, and the women on the sort of producing and the directing side didn't. So there was a lot,
Yeah.
I was like, why is that? Like, what's going on? So I find it fascinating. I'm curious about, how do you go about teaching confidence? They come, yeah.
Confidence, I feel like it needs to come from self-reflection to teach confidence. So you need to, the person teaching it needs to tell their reflection and understand. I think a person who's not person who is confident should not teach confidence. Person who is not confident should really teach confidence, because they can say, I feel that, I relate, I experience that, and together we can sympathize and we can understand where those disbeliefs come from. Because that's usually what happens with us, is that we listen to people we look at social media, we think everybody else is doing so much better than us, but only thing we need to hear, nobody's doing better than you. Nobody's having any more shit time than you. Nobody has like, what I mean? It's like nobody knows more than you. Only the confident people, the people in explanation, what are these marks called?
Quotation
marks.
Quotation marks. What I've realized is that there's especially amongst men, I'm generalizing a little bit, but I feel like generally amongst men, I see a lot of people, especially in audio industry, that they say they know something. If they don't know, they still say they know it, and then they go to the toilets to Google it. Where women are more likely to say in the spot, no, I don't know, because they don't want anything to anyone to expect anything from them to explain. So I feel like there's these behavioral things, but to be able to teach confidence, you need to realize that nobody's confident and analyze that.
It's so true, because a lot of times too, people who present themselves with confidence know the least, and they can be quite, from my experience, quite dangerous, because they also don't,
Absolutely.
so they're not, because there's kind of like a wall up, and there's a fear, and they cover that fear sometimes by not being the best leaders, not being the best example, because they don't want to be exposed.
Yeah.
And also, and the world, we all need to be asking more questions. That's what I love about what you're saying, because how do we grow? If you pretend you're never going to learn.
Absolutely. And the hardest thing is, I feel, is to ask those questions from yourself and accept that you're not perfect, and accept that none of us knows everything. None of us feel, we are all vulnerable. We are all broken one way or another. We have all problems. But I think what we're really missing from this world is honesty, and honesty to ourselves and honesty to other people. And what I've kind of seen recently, especially in social media, is that my approach to things for teaching music production is, as well as my own social media and my own teaching experiences, that I'm as vulnerable as I can be, and I'm as honest to myself as I can be. And it's really been good for myself, because I have needed to deal with issues, how people perceive me as well as how I perceive myself, and why do I act the way I act. And those questions and those things are not easy to face. Quite often we don't really wanna, because it makes us feel uncomfortable, but that's the only way for us to really discuss these things, is to be honest and to develop and find the confidence. Because when we accept those things, we can accept we are as we are, and then we can feel confident because we have nothing to hide.
Yeah, and I guess vulnerability and being open to questioning ourselves is
Mhm.
one of the most important things that we can do. And so, what do you find is your biggest struggle in your career right now, in music production and teaching? Like, what is the biggest struggle you find?
I find, like, emotionally, especially, it's been the biggest struggle is the fact that to realize what people expect from, what I think people expect from me, and what I expect from myself, genre wise, what I'm bringing out. Am I bringing out stuff enough? Am I being enough? Am I musically, I would like to, the way so example, right now people see me mostly as a teacher. And
Mhm.
my struggle is the fact that why do I find that so offensive? Why do I find that so like settling? Like I feel like I'm settling just to be a teacher. I probably, my mom is a teacher originally, and then she became an artist when she was like 35 to 40 years old. And I feel like maybe there's part of me that I want people to see me more as an artist than as an educator. But then thinking, I've been like, I think that's a kind of weird problem to say, but I feel like a lot of musicians, more of artists, feel that where we're constantly questioning how people see us, like how do people see us, but nobody cares.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody cares how they see me. I care how people see me, and that's my struggle now, to find the balance where I feel okay who I am and I make art with the tempo, with the frequency. Like I put my art, my music out when I feel like it. I don't push myself to do it. I don't put myself under pressure to see what kind of genre am I now and how people see my music. Am I good enough? And all this, like, I'm trying to get away from that thought process, and also being patient. I have this word constantly in my head just saying patience, patience, patience. Now maybe it's the time to educate and teach production and learn about that. And maybe in a couple years, I'm more of an artist and I have more time to do only art, and it's okay. I think I'm 29. I have plenty of time to just, you know, ex- express who I am. God, that sounds so like cheesy to say that, but I think that weird answer, but maybe that's the kind of direction I
It's
would
not. I
say
love
that
what
that's
you're
been a big
saying. I
struggle.
think what you're saying is that it's about the journey, right? That and maybe
Journey, yes.
and try to be like just present where you are now. Know that that journey is going to unfold.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like give yourself the break. Like it's fine. And what I'm doing and what I've done is enough. It's okay.
Mhm.
What like I don't need, everybody's timeline is different. Everybody does things in different phase. Some people, you know, do like my mom having her dream career and being like she's now 64 and she has the best career of her life and completely making herself as an artist. And you know, like that's the thing, is like she managed to do that later in her life, and she's living her best life and she's gone through cancers and all kind of stuff, and she's still like now rocking it. And I think it's ridiculous that 20-year-olds are like uh, putting ourselves through like so much pressure and so much thought of like who we need to be when we haven't even lived yet, in a way, like to even know how we can be. So I think it's that kind of thought process that I'm just kind of trying to tell myself that it's okay, just chill.
It's so smart. That's very wise by 29. And there's so many things about what you're saying that I love, because obviously Tracy and I are in our 50s, and
Mm.
we hope by doing that, just by doing this, you act as a form of inspiration, because we started off doing this. We didn't even know how to tweet. Like we
Yeah.
went into something with like no technical experience, and like, who are we? No, we're two middle-aged women. Who's going to want to, but you just do it. We wanted to do it. So
Yeah.
we did it, and we thought, we'll see what happens. It's trying is success. It doesn't
Yes.
matter. It's like that defining success. If you just try, it's like success. You know, my mom did improv in her 70s. You were going to say something, so I didn't want to. And yeah.
No, absolutely. I feel like we live still a lot in the world where we think everything as a structure, as a like we our plans are set for us. So like when you are like in 20s you go to study, then in 30s you work, in 40s you are working and having a family, you need to buy a house, you need to have a car, you need to have everything. Sorry. In 50s then you need to start thinking, like you start to be tired of what of your work, and you start to think like, okay, how do I retire? And then when you retire, and then you think, okay, what did I do the things I loved? And I feel like that's something that I've seen with my mom, is like she kind of always fought that a lot, that whole system of how you've been set up. And I think that's why I've been always really scared of getting stuck in that, that wheel of doing what other people expect you to do instead of doing what you love. And I think that's why it, like it can be hard to kind of think who I want to be constantly. It's like
Mhm.
constant thought, like who I want to be, who I want to be. But at the same time, at least, you know, I think it's never too late. It's never like we just need to think, what do we want to do now? And you know, nobody cares if you change your mind. Nobody cares. I think it's like we just need to accept the fact that nobody cares if you just quit your job, you sell your house, and you just start doing whatever you love. Like nobody will. It's not going to shake the world if you do what you love.
And no, and somebody told me, which I was saying that I've always loved, it said anybody who puts down your dreams, it's because they've given up on theirs.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
it's a trigger, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
because it's true, everybody's just, concerned about themselves. But I think it's so brilliant. And it's, Tracy and I was talking about that. It's almost like, to use this, it's listening to your soul as opposed to listening to your brain.
Yeah.
Listening to
Mhm.
your intuition as opposed to your ego telling you this is right or this is wrong. It's like,
Yeah.
but it just listen to what you feel like you want to do.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest kind of realization for me, like in the last years, is the stop asking validation
Mhm.
from people around you that you think you care about. Like you think that their opinion matters, and especially your family, your closest friends, you think so much that their opinion matters on what you do and your ideas. And you ask, especially if you have an idea, example, I had like, oh, I'm going to do a YouTube channel. I didn't get the most positive reaction for that because people are like, what does like you like you're not like a 19-year-old doing vlogs, like what do you plan to do with that? And I'm glad I didn't listen to anyone, because then I wouldn't do this. And I love it. And I think stop, like, even like my husband, I should not ask his opinion. I should not ask my mom's opinion. I should not ask my friend's opinion, because in the end, they don't know anything. Like, what do they know about my ideas and my ambitions and my visions and how it's going to turn out and all that? If I believe in it, why do I ask validation from people's who will probably love it when I've done it? But why do I need to ask the validation before I've kind of just done it by myself? And I don't know. I just kind of, that's been a big kind of realization for myself. Is like, just stop asking validation. And I had another point, but I forgot that.
That's okay. I was going to say, actually, validation, as human beings, I think that's one of the hardest struggles we have, is to be true to ourselves, not look to
Mhm.
validation from outside. And I think it's an ongoing battle. I think you have it in your 20s, your 30s, you have it in your, like, we're in our 50s.
Yeah.
We try really hard not to, but we all do have it. But I guess we have to wrap this up soon. But what I would like to sort of end on is a positive note. So, like, what brings you the most joy from what you do? If there's one thing that's like, oh, I just love that, for like aspiring women musicians out there, what brings you the most joy?
I would say actually, one thing that really keeps me going, I would say, so probably what sparks most joy is the fact when I get a message on Instagram or YouTube or something that someone started production, or they released their first single or something because they watched my video. And I don't know, there's something like freaking powerful about that. And it's just, it's crazy that someone would do that because they saw me. You know what I mean? And I think that is the reason I started YouTube. And that's the reason I started doing this, because there's not many people doing it in a very approachable way and just trying to be real, and being a female. There's not many people doing it. And I feel like that's something that keeps me going, is that feedback from the people who follow. And it sounds a bit cheesy, but that is great. That just makes me cry.
I think that's beautiful, because one of the things that we're trying to show through this program is that if you do what you love, even
Mhm.
if that becomes a form of inspiration for one person, it was
Yeah.
worth it, right? Like, and
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's
yeah.
so true. Like if I can change one person and they're like, just make them believe in themselves, and like even if it's a music tech, if it's coding, whatever they want to do, I think it's totally worth it, because they're gonna have so much enjoyment the rest of their lives from just the belief that someone told them that they can.
Well, thank you so much, because you certainly are a light and you've acted as a big form of inspiration for us.
So
thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been so interesting. We could talk ages.
We could talk ages. So if people want to find you, where's the best way? We'll put all the links below, but where's the best way to contact you?
Yeah, so LNA Does Audio Stuff on YouTube, and then Instagram is Lina, LIINA_music. And then, of course, Equalize Music Production if you want to come to learn from me music production. And if you want to join our free events and all the about social media and music coming up. It's free for everybody, not only for women and non-binary people. You can come and just talk about music and social media. We have amazing guests and stuff. So Equalized Music Production is just on the website.
Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed spending time with Lina as much as we did. As we mentioned off the top, we have put together this incredible community of women that we would love you to be a part of. So go to our website and check it out, because you can find all the details about membership there.
You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. So once again, thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next time.